pleasure to welcome all of you to this evening's baccalaureate service. To parents, grandparents, extended family, and friends of the class of 2009, welcome to the service of worship. And thank you especially for the time, the care, the resources, and the love that you've given to make this special day possible. The class of 2009, I greet you for the last time as undergraduates at Juniata. We are grateful for the contributions you've made to the life of this college, and we wish you well as you move on to represent both your families and Juniata in all your future endeavors. I invite all of you to join us following the service for the President and faculty reception at Ellis Hall. Please join me now as we enter into this hour of worship inspired by the Juniata College Choir.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening, humbled and in awe of the amazing things you've done for us and through us over the past 4 years. Thank you for the family, friends, and faculty who are able to join with us this evening for this time of worship and reflection. Thank you for my fellow classmates and the unique treasures that you've placed in each of them. We are grateful for our time at Juniata and the many ways it has prepared us to uncover those treasures in the exciting years ahead of us. As we approach this new transition in our lives, we ask for your continued wisdom and guidance, as well as the courage to use what we've learned here and boldly set out to fulfill our dreams. We also ask for peace and patience to wait on your perfect timing for all that you have for us. Lord, continue to bless all that have gathered this evening, and especially the class of 2009. In your name we pray. Amen.
We're now less than a day away from being thrown out into the world as college graduates. The student phase of our life is one day from over. I'm feeling a bit like a baby about to be surprised by being thrown out into the world without any idea of what to expect. Everything here is familiar now, and what lies ahead is not. Fortunately, I have something in common with such a baby every college graduate is secretly really grateful for: Mom and Dad's house. For the next 3 weeks at least, I have somewhere to stay. But whether in the next couple of weeks or a little longer down the line, each one of us is going to have to leave home and start taking care of ourselves. Are we ready? Have we merely earned degrees and built up resumes, or are we ready, after 4 years at Juniata, to face life's challenges, responsibilities and decisions, emotional ups and downs and economic ups and downs, while carrying ever-compounding student debts? Are we ready to do all this? Perhaps the most important piece of being ready, to face the world head-on with all its challenges, is having the motivation to do so. Having the feeling it's worthwhile. This can come from a lot of places. For some people, it might come from some kind of life goal. But these goals can change or fall through, and then life becomes purposeless. Is there something that will never fall through? Is there something that can give life meaning, if not a clearly defined purpose, and make life not only worth facing every day, but even rewarding? Something that might make our futures less intimidating, or at least gives us courage whenever they are. After 4 years at Juniata, I think so. There's something that most people like to call faith, and that's what I'd like to reflect on. My reflection today really is a personal one, and I'm not trying to say anything universal from it necessarily. I just want to show how deeply Juniata impacted at least one person spiritually in the span of 4 years, and indeed earned its fame as a college that changed lives. While at Juniata, I've kept involved in campus spiritual activities, especially with what is now called the United Spiritual Community, but also with the wider Juniata and Huntington spiritual communities. I was raised by a very low-key United Methodist and an agnostic who thinks he's an atheist, to be whatever I wanted. And so that's something I'm trying to figure out. I've always been a Jesus fan, and always been interested in Taoism and Buddhism, especially Buddhist philosophy and meditation. While here in Huntington, I sought out spiritualities I'd not run into yet at home, including Buddhists, Native Americans, Eastern Orthodox Christians, Wiccans, and others. This has been more in the past 3 years, however, as my search has deepened. You see, when I first showed up here, I was an expert on all things spiritual. It's true. I was going to save the world. I had a goal. I knew this one thing, or so I thought, and it sounds really nice if you're ready. All religions are equal but different expressions of the same underlying truth. But some are a little more equal than others. My favorite religion freshman year was Buddhism, so I decided I wanted to be a Christian pastor who taught Buddhist meditation, and that, of course, my efforts would start a movement that would end up changing the world into a bunch of peaceful meditators, and world peace would be attained, and everyone would thank me for it. You know, no big. So I had a very definite goal that year and pursued it passionately and self-righteously. But I would learn that although a goal can give life purpose, it can also go away. And with it, so too, all of life's meaning. All right, so I'm a religious studies POE, kind of. So here's a good side story about why Juniata is awesome. As a freshman, I started in environmental studies and religion, but I was also taking Chinese on a whim, and was really enjoying it, so I decided I wanted to go to China. But then Mom and Dad said, no, you'll catch bird flu, you'll get arrested, you'll shoot your eye out. Not really that last one. Anyway, of course, despite the parents, I added Chinese studies to my POE, so I had to go to China. Then, as it would seem, getting my karmic desserts for spiting Mom and Dad, while in China, I really couldn't stand the lack of physical boundaries, the cleanliness, and I don't mean it was so clean I couldn't stand it, and a bunch of other things. So I decided to try a new country, Japan, which was actually clean and where people have wonderful personal space bubbles. So, ready now. POE equals religion first, and East Asian studies. Pretty nice, yeah. But then, just last week, recognizing that I did not have a full POE in religion, and I did in East Asian studies, I rewrote it at the last possible minute to East Asian studies first, and religion. So, conclusion of side story. Any prospective student siblings out there? Come to Juniata, the only place your major can change more often than your grill line options in Bakerville. Now, as anyone who has done so will tell you, you can't study religion academically for very long without changing your religious views. After several years of Krill, oh, you thought you understood this religion. Miller, it's funny that you thought you knew the Bible. And Braxton, haha, you're cute. You thought you understood your life. Things start to change, and you realize you didn't know nearly as much as you thought. So, where I thought I knew how to save the world, I soon realized how much I didn't know. And with that realization, I lost my goal. And with it, the founding principle of my conscious life thus far. I didn't have any faith, really. I didn't have anything bigger than me I connected my life up with. No faith, no center. Really, I had been there in the center. And now that I thought that was done, I didn't know what else to put there. So enter existential crisis right as I entered China. I didn't have much fun in China, like I said, but to be honest, it wasn't China's fault. It was mine. I didn't get out and experience the country. I didn't take my life by the reins. I sat in my room and asked, what's the point of it all? And then went out to stuff myself on delicious Chinese or Korean cuisine for about $1 or so. Tough life, right? China did change my life, though. After understanding just how radically different the Chinese way of thinking is from ours, I understood that we cannot judge them for not following the same historical course as us to democracy or anything else. And for that matter, I can't judge people who don't want to do Buddhist meditation. There's no one right way. China was a great learning experience, despite my best efforts to the contrary, and I'm grateful for it. While in China, I took a trip to Japan to visit my roommate of the previous year, and of course, see the land of Mount Fuji, sumo wrestling, judo, anime, Pokemon, Hello Kitty, and all the other Japanese honorable and adorable archetypes that have crept into the American psyche. I really loved the country, and so I went back again last semester and had a great time. But why? Why was Japan and not China great for me, when I know friends who have had opposite experiences in each country? Because this time I didn't sit in my room. I went everywhere I could, and tried all the experiences I could, good or bad. I climbed Mount Fuji and felt like a champ, but also felt like dying. I went to the Tokyo Game Show on a whim and was surrounded by so many gaming enthusiasts, of which I am not one, I felt like going crazy. I visited Hiroshima and heard an atomic bomb survivor speak. I rode trains that went up to 200 miles per hour, and went to karaoke and discovered that that's my personal anti-drug. It's good stuff. And what does this have to do with faith? Well, I didn't realize it until this semester with a little help from some friends. My beliefs about the universe I held while in both China and Japan had not changed much, but looking back, I realized that something else was different. So for most of my time here, I've had a friend who we'll call Sue, and another friend that we're going to call Bob. Now, Bob and Sue have something in common, which is they both think life is great. I find life a little more challenging, as my searching for a religion to belong to and a field to study shows I've never been good at making decisions and always worry if I'm right or wrong. But neither Sue nor Bob are phenomenal at making decisions either, but that's okay. Why? It's the way they approach life, which is not for themselves, and not for some concrete, clear goal, but through an embrace of life and all within it. It's a thing of the whole person, and so to me, that's faith. Responding to the world with active love as best you can, feeling that with that alone, you are doing what you need to be doing. Faith is not a goal. It's not a belief. It is constantly choosing to affirm a way of life that embraces life with love. In their cases, this included a belief in God. It also included emotions, but mostly it included living with both good and bad decisions, good and bad events, good and bad feelings, as part of God's activity, or if you prefer, of the rich unfolding of life, making everything in a transcendently good. So can a guy who is not Christian or Buddhist or Muslim or even Unitarian Universalist have faith? Yes. It might even be a secular faith. And how I lived in Japan, I think, is key. Of course, life is of your making. Perhaps not only of your making, but of your making. It wasn't how I thought or felt while I was in Japan that made things different. Those are just parts of the whole picture. It was my entire approach to living. There I was relishing good experiences and bad as both a part of life. I put life at the center, or let's say the universe at the center, or Tao, or God. It's all the same to me. I lived like all of life was beautiful, and that made it so. The Catholic contemplative and interfaith leader Thomas Merton wrote a prayer in his book, Thoughts from Solitude, in which he sums up faith as I've come to understand it. My Lord God, I have no idea where I am going. I do not see the road ahead of me. I cannot know for certain where it will end. Nor do I really know myself. And the fact that I think that I am following your will does not mean that I am actually doing so. But I believe that the desire to please you does in fact please you. And I hope I have that desire in all that I am doing. I hope that I will never do anything apart from that desire. And know that if I do this, and I know that if I do this, you will lead me by the right road, though I may know nothing about it. Therefore will I trust you always, though I may seem to be lost and in the shadow of death. I will not fear, for you are ever with me, and you will never leave me to face my perils alone. A new baby knows nothing about the world he's born into. He has no idea where he's going, but he does have the love of mom and dad's comfort. For now, I still have mom and dad's support. But I can't rely on that in the same way anymore. I have to live my own life. This entire semester I've been scared of that. But after realizing I too can have faith, I'm a bit better. I still don't know if my decisions are for the best, and I have no idea where I'm going. But I have faith. Trying actively and with love to live life is what makes any decision for the best. In my case, I don't know exactly what my faith is in, but it's in that thing that's bigger than me, and I'm connected to. Whether it's something greater than this universe, or just all of us in this universe together that, come good or ill, embraces me in some kind of cosmic love that I can feel so long as I'm willing to embrace back, even if I hardly give it a conscious thought or a name. There's one name I would like to mention now, though, and thank you for giving me these valuable academic and life experiences. Juniata. Thank you, faculty, for teaching inside and outside the classroom. Thank you, staff, for providing support, institutional for study abroad and other things, and personal when I needed it. And thank you to every one of my friends who have reminded me daily how beautiful life can be and what love is. In other words, who helped me to have faith in living my life. All of you who have touched my life, you're responsible for me having faith, and I can never forget you. Thank you.
For it is the God who said, "Let light shine out of darkness," who has shown in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. But we have this treasure in clay jars, so that it may be made clear that this extraordinary power belongs to God and does not come from us. We are afflicted in every way, but not crushed, perplexed, but not driven to despair, persecuted, but not forsaken, struck down but not destroyed, always carrying in the body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be made visible in our bodies. For while we live, we are always being given up to death for Jesus' sake, so that the life of Jesus may be made visible in our mortal flesh. So death is at work in us, but life in you. So we do not lose heart. Even though our outer nature is wasting away, our inner nature is being renewed day by day. For this light momentary affliction is preparing us for an eternal weight of glory beyond all measure, because we look not at what can be seen, but what cannot be seen. For what can be seen is temporary, but what cannot be seen is eternal.
Good evening. As I stand before you tonight, there are many faces I do not recognize and many names I do not know. Yet we are all tied together in this massive celebration known as graduation. Over the past few years, we have been challenged, knocked off our seats, and been given thousands of opportunities to grow, both academically and in our faith. These challenges throughout our time at Juniata incorporated encounters with diverse individuals and defining ourselves apart from our parents. Words such as challenging and phrases involving growth can also be applied to our faiths. I do not know the personal stories of every one of you here tonight, but I am well acquainted with my own. If my faith and life are any indication, Juniata has been a place that encourages diversity and the sharing among different peoples. We have buildings such as the Unity House and various clubs that represent many belief practices and religions. It is at Juniata where our individual personalities and walks of faith are deeply and critically challenged by our meetings with these individuals. However, these meetings also represented the core of how we began to discover ourselves more intimately. During the fall of my junior year, I participated in a course called Beyond Tolerance. In this course, we covered an array of topics ranging from gender issues to hip-hop culture. Although the topics were compelling, my interactions with the other individuals in the class are perhaps what impacted me the most. During a class trip to Washington, D.C., I enjoyed a conversation with an individual who hailed straight from India. Throughout the conversation, we shared our likes and dislikes, as well as some very different religious beliefs and practices. I must preface that I am a Christian of United Methodist background, and needless to say, I'm sure your imaginations can create an image that was fairly close to the one that was experienced in the van that day. Although entirely comfortable, our conversations reached depths that neither one of us had expected. Although very different, this individual and I ended our day better aware of ourselves and each other's beliefs. As the course's intent, I was definitely more aware of Indian culture and the other issues that were presented in the class. However, my greatest surprise in ending the course was the depth to which I now knew myself. A wise man once said, "In learning to know other things, other minds, we become more intimately acquainted with ourselves and are to ourselves better worth knowing." Prior to attending Juniata, my faith was somewhat of a mirror of my parents. I would attend church on Sunday and be involved in at least one church group. Having my parents to rely on made participating in such functions very easy, and they became somewhat routine. It was not until they waved goodbye after dropping me off freshman year that the significance of defining my own faith became apparent. I could no longer rely on them to drive me to church or to encourage my involvement in different groups. Every step that I made in defining my faith became my responsibility. I know many of you share similar stories to my own with respect to defining your faith. I also recognize that many of you may not. One thing I can guarantee is that we all have been challenged by new situations and responsibilities that bombarded us at college. Thankfully, we were blessed to be in the company of a campus community that was so willing to assist its students in whatever shape or form was needed. For a personal example, the campus ministry office offers an event called Church Search. It was through this event that I myself was able to find and establish myself at a church in the community, and without this, I might not have been able to. In addition to the services that are offered here at Juniata, the friendships and connections that I was able to make with so many of you are what provided me with the courage to face these challenges head on and further define my faith. Whether I became involved on the ministry board or could be found leading worship downtown, this campus community is what provided me with the strength to push forward. Regardless of the challenge that presented itself, the friends and staff at Juniata College were always willing to give me that extra kick in the butt to get moving. However, in light of each challenge, one piece of advice remained consistent. Whether I was having coffee with a friend or having a discussion with the staff at the Unity House, I was consistently encouraged to remain true to myself throughout my journey, both in life and in faith. Although I was not blessed with near enough time to get to know many of you, I will offer you one last piece of advice. Whether you are on the road leading to faith discovery or are facing new responsibilities that leave you questioning your direction in life and maybe even yourself, I offer you this guidance. Do not lose sight of who you are. Within the next few months, each of us will be presented with new situations and challenges, all of which are sure to bring new responsibilities. But however long the road or difficult the challenge, remember that friends, family, and those around you will always be willing to keep you on track, not just in times of trouble, but also in times of self-discovery. Our time here at Juniata is quickly coming to an end, and feelings of excitement and maybe some fear of the unknown await us all. In order to offer you some comfort, as the changes are knocking and as the challenges are waiting, I leave you with this quote written by Bill Purdon. One of the secrets of life is to be honestly who you are, who others want you to be, who you used to be, and who you may someday become. These are fantasies. To be honestly who you are, give up your illusions, and face today with courage. Well, gang, we did it. Good luck, and God bless.
We give thanks to God for all that Juniata College has meant to us, how it has touched us and shaped our lives and prepared us for this day. We celebrate together.
Reflecting back on life received in the presence of caring friends, those who lived and laughed with us, as well as those who sat with us during tough times and shared their deepest dreams.
We give thanks to faculty and staff who sought to teach us even in times when we were unwilling to learn, those who believed in us and encouraged us to follow our dreams, and those even willing to engage in a game of tug-of-war or serve dinner at Magical.
Midnight phone calls, gifts of dirty laundry, watching you try more and more things on your own, with times of growth for us as well.
Working together, we have seen many of our dreams come to fulfillment. We give thanks for our loving and compassionate God. And today, our future beckons, a place where God will be with us always. Thanks be to God.
The word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord. Come, go down to the potter's house, and there I will let you hear my words. So I went down to the potter's house, and there he was working at his wheel. The vessel he was making of clay was spoiled in the potter's hand, and he reworked it into another vessel, as it seemed good to him. Then the word of the Lord came to me. Can I not do this with you, O house of Israel, just as the potter has done? Says the Lord.
Just like the clay in the potter's hand, so you are in my hand, O house of Israel.
When asked to speak on behalf of the Jewish students and what it was like to be a religious minority on campus during my 4 years here, my immediate reaction was in fact a question. Am I Jewish enough to give this speech? Immediately after asking that question out loud, I began to wonder why that thought even crossed my mind and what it means. Am I Jewish enough? Enough for who? For myself? For you? For this audience? Upon further thought, more questions arose concerning my immediate reaction. What provoked me to ask myself if I am Jewish enough? Why did I feel the need to ask this question? Why do I feel the need to explain my religious beliefs? For those of you who know me, you know I am not one to feel obliged to explain who I am. So why did this religiously inspired assignment make me respond in such a way? Needless to say, with all those questions in my mind, a little self-reflection was in order. Instead of focusing on being a Jew, a part of a minority on campus, I decided to focus on what being a Jew means to me. To me, being Jewish is solely about my self-identity, which is a part of who I am. I'm a woman, I am from Connecticut, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I am a Jew. Though I was raised celebrating both Catholic and Jewish holidays, I ended high school and entered college with a greater sense of belonging to the Jewish culture. I was pleasantly surprised to learn that Juniata had a Hillel, a Jewish student organization. I joined to increase my knowledge of Judaism and to better understand, once again, self-reflection, why I felt more connected to the Jewish culture instead of Catholicism. Right away, the minority issues arose quicker than expected, and my need to prove my Jewishness to non-Jews and myself came about. I identify more with the Jewish culture, and although I don't go to temple regularly, I attend on some high holidays. This is a part of my religious self. But why was I trying to explain myself to other people? I was trying to understand for myself. Why at the same time did I feel compelled to explain this religion, this faith, this culture to others as well? I think this aspect of being a part of a religious minority on a predominantly Christian campus has only been influential in the sense that it has allowed me to educate and inform others of the Jewish faith. I decided after asking myself and being asked many questions about Judaism that instead of explaining and defending my beliefs behind being Jewish, I was going to focus on educating others through my participation with Hillel. While I am Jewish for me, I want to educate others on Judaism. Hillel helped me do this. Hillel served as a way for me to teach others about Judaism, and by being supported by other Hillel members, I did not feel the need to prove my Jewishness. Our events proved it for me. But once again, what is this need to prove my beliefs to others? Can't we just accept others for their mind and solely acknowledge the fact that we all believe in different religions? This has probably been the reason for my need to put words to my inner beliefs and having to prove my Jewishness. One might say that I'm putting this feeling of needing to prove myself upon myself, but the fact is, hearing questions like, only your dad is Jewish? Does your mom have to be Jewish for you to technically be a Jew or even considered a Jew? And disagreements with my simple response, no, that's not true in regard to my beliefs, seems to speak for themselves. My being part of the minority and all those questions from people has contributed to my belief that religion should solely be for the individual and for educating others of different faiths. To me, religion is not important for anyone else but a single person's soul. Throughout my 4 years here as a minority, year after year, my awareness of religions and religious minorities have grown, and year after year, I have come to believe that while religions may build connections between people, build relationships and trust, religion is all about one's personal beliefs. I identify myself as a Jew. I can relate with the other Jews on campus only by the fact that we are a religious minority on campus, and we connect to the Jewish culture in some way. Our beliefs stem from commonalities, but it cannot be said that we all believe in exactly the same thing, in exactly the same way, in exactly the same state of mind. We Jews stick together because as minorities, we know that there is still an urge in people to question and to understand us, the other, in regard to our religious beliefs. So I am Jewish enough to be up here right now, speaking on behalf of the Jewish students on campus. For being Jewish enough is in importance to me and only me. To be a Jew is my self-identity. On the same note, though, I am only one Jew out of many. I joined Hillel at Juniata, and there we shared common ideals, spoke of experiences of being part of a minority, of being misunderstood, and we tried to educate the campus of the Jewish faith as a whole. I'm still searching within myself for what exactly it means to be a Jew, but the feeling inside me assures me that I am Jewish enough. This is the Rabbi's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba Amen. Be'alma divera chiruta v'yamlik ma'achite becha yaron. Yubo mehon yuvhaye dechol bet Israel. Ba'agala v'zman karib v'imru Amen. Yolahon ulahon shalama Rabba Hine Vahida Varahamin Vahayim Ayahin Nizome Rabihe Uferkana Min Kodom Abuhon Di Bishmaya Ve'ara V'imru Amen. Yahe Shelama Rabbamin Shemaya V'chaim tuvim aleinu ve'ahon Yisrael ve'inu amen. Oseh shalom ve'im umav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'ahon Yisrael ve'inu amen.
One afternoon, according to an old Sufi tale, Nasruddin and his friend were sitting in a cafe drinking tea and talking about life and love. "How come you never got married?" Nasruddin, his friend, said at one point. "Well," Nasruddin responded, "I tell you the truth, I spent my youth looking for the perfect woman." In Cairo, I met a beautiful and intelligent woman with eyes like dark olives, but she was unkind. Then in Baghdad, I met a woman who was wonderful and had a generous soul, but it turned out we had no interests in common. One woman after another would seem to be just right, but there would always be something missing. Then one day, he said, I met her. She was beautiful, intelligent, generous, and kind. We had everything in common. In fact, she was perfect. Well, said Nasruddin's friend, what happened? Why did you not marry her? Nasruddin paused, sipped his tea reflectively for a moment, and said, well, I guess it's sort of a sad story. See, it seems she was looking for the perfect man. Well, perfection. What I hear in the biblical stories that you heard read tonight, and in the very personal stories that our graduating seniors have told us, is the tension that we all live with between our high expectations on one side that leave us often, as Rachel said, not feeling quite enough, but hopefully held in tension alongside the deep, unshakable love of God that we hopefully recognize in the genuine support and caring of those around us each day. As we become aware of our struggles and know that our struggles are the struggles of so many others throughout the ages, we can find hope and confidence in the midst of our journey. I would like to suggest tonight, as we sit here and watch Clear Bear working at the pot, at the wheel, that just as God called Jeremiah to notice the potter at the wheel and discover within that very ordinary act a message from God, so God continues to speak to us today and even calls us to delight and to learn from the cycle of creating and recreating of life that happens around us daily. God does not call us to perfection today, does not expect us to get it all right. God calls us, like the clay, to be malleable, moldable, open to new growth and possibilities throughout our lives. The potter works the clay, molds it, shapes it, pushing it to become something useful. But at the same time, the skillful potter listens to the clay as well. As you watch it tonight, be reminded that creation is an interactive process and that perfection, a totally completed project, is not what she is after. It is an act of creation, a work of caring, an expression of self. In other words, what I'm getting at, Juniata seniors, is give yourself a break. Trust that grace is real. Don't expect to be a finished product as of tomorrow. In fact, the lesson of the potter that Jeremiah shares with us reminds us that sometimes we just mess up. Right, Clever? Sorry about that. It happens. Sometimes we just mess up. And the potter has to begin again. The scriptures that we heard read tonight tell us of the good news that we have a treasure in these clay jars, these bodies, these lives of ours, a treasure that is to be lived and cherished, to be used for the good of our world and our neighbor. It is far from finished. And sometimes we make a mess of the shaping process. But even then, Jeremiah reminds us as well, the potter can reshape and make something new, maybe even something that originally was unintended from the midst of the lump. In fact, in talking with Clear Bear and others in preparation for tonight, I discovered that many Native artists throughout the ages have intentionally left imperfections in their work, both out of respect for the presence of spirit in the work of their hands and in the recognition of the reality of the imperfection of what they have created in contrast to the wondrous and mysterious splendor of God's creation. You know, we expect so much of ourselves, especially here in higher education. I was thinking of an example that I might give you of that from my own life, but somehow each one I thought of just didn't quite seem to cut it. So I thought, what else do I know? Who do I know that has a colorful story to tell? And of course, I thought of your faculty. There are some amazing stories among them. Let me just tell you one about your overachieving faculty members here. Talk about excelling. Let's take our own Dr. Jerry Cruzy, sitting quietly in the middle of the crowd. Like our entire faculty here at Juniata, Jerry has done amazing, incredible things in his relatively few short years of life. Jerry, you may or may not know, got his PhD in applied mathematics from Brown University with a thesis title that I can barely read to you, let alone understand, okay? But I want to share it with you because it's profound, I think. Here it is. Parallel, non-conforming spectral element solution of the incompressible Navier-Stokes equations in 3 dimensions. I tried then, after I read that, to get Jerry to tell me what it means, because it didn't quite register in my little theological mind. But even the explanation, I'm afraid, sort of eludes me still a little bit. But let me just try to give you just a touch more. Here's what he told me. He said, I took the equations that describe fluid flow, like air and water. The Navier-Stokes equations in particular, of course, and wrote a program that simulates the solution. Is that close? Okay. I guess, though, I shouldn't feel too bad that I don't fully grasp the depth of this work, because Jerry says it takes a supercomputer to run the simulation anyway, so I guess I'm not that far away. But at the same time, while I am truly incredibly amazed at the level of knowledge that many of our faculty like Jerry have, as well as their ability to translate that into a way that makes sense and helps you all as students to learn important and significant things for life. One thing I know as well is that he is not perfect. Why do I tell you this? Because in the summer, I get to play golf with Dr. Cruzy. And I can tell you from experience that there is a statistically significant probability that on the second hole of the Huntington Country Club, his golf ball will follow a trajectory that will lead halfway down the hill on the right into the pine trees, where he will be forced to continue to develop another skill, that of keeping the ball low enough to go under the expansive branches of those pine trees that line the right side of that hole. So, the same guy that got a doctorate for writing this great 3-dimensional simulation for supercomputers still has a tendency to have a mean slice at times off the teeth. Jerry would be the first to tell you that he is still a clay jar, being molded, not someone who has arrived at all the answers in life or attained perfection. And it is what we all appreciate about him as well. He, like most of us, in spite of his many accomplishments, is content being continually learning and continually growing and being shaped by his faith, his family, his friends, his profession, and the world around him. The scriptures are clear to me that our calling in life is not to expect perfection and then to find ourselves running around wondering why we don't measure up to our own expectations. No, the invitation from these verses that we've read tonight is to embrace life in the midst of our flaws and our imperfections. To realize, as the theologian Abraham Heschel suggests, that sin is not a cul-de-sac, nor is guilt a final trap, he says. Sin may be washed away by repentance and return, and beyond guilt is the dawn of forgiveness. The door, Heschel reminds us, is never locked. The threat of doom is never the last word. Tonight, may this be good news for all of us, especially those of you who are preparing to enter a new phase of your life after college. Don't expect this to be the end of your learning, either formally or informally. Don't expect it to be the end of personal growth and challenges in life. May it simply be another door opening to a new page of your life. Notice the potter at the wheel. That is, notice. Notice the hand of God at work in the ordinary things and stuff of your life. Listen. Listen for the still small voice of God in the joy and the laughter of children you encounter. Hear the opportunity for growth in the criticism of a coworker or supervisor. And I invite you to take time for silence. Time to work the clay of your own life quietly. For it is often in silence that God's voice is heard most clearly and at its loudest. I leave you tonight with the lyrics of poet and songwriter Leonard Cohen from his song Anthem, where he says to us, "Ring the bells that can still be rung, ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's where the light gets in. That's where the light gets in." May you let your light shine as you move forth as graduates of this fine college, and allow yourselves to be clay in the hand of the potter. Amen.
God bless you with restless discomfort about easy answers, half-truths, and superficial relationships, so that you may see truth boldly and love deeply within your heart. May God bless you with holy anger at injustice, oppression, and exploitation of people, so that you may tirelessly work for justice, freedom, and peace among all people. May God bless you with the gift of tears to shed with those who suffer from pain, rejection, starvation, or the loss of all they cherish, so that you may reach out your hand to comfort them and transform their pain into joy. May God bless you with enough foolishness to believe that you really can make a difference in this world, so that you are able, with God's grace, to do what others claim cannot be done. And the blessing of God be with you and remain with you this day and forevermore. Amen.